Hello, everyone, and welcome back to All Too Well Read.
Yay. Welcome, everyone. Good to see you again.
It's so interesting because when we take like little breaks, I mean, granted, like we're back on our schedule now, we're back on our bullshit, but like it's been a while since we've sat and recorded. And
Mhm.
it's just like so interesting, like when we take little like breaks from it, because I'm like, oh my God, it feels like it's been forever. But like this is just us being so ahead of the schedule and just so ahead of the game.
Yeah,
So
I
ahead
know.
of schedule and ahead of the game that like we literally recorded about Taylor Swift reputation and then she made her announcement about it,
Yeah.
which is
I'm
crazy.
so glad I'm so glad you're addressing that. That's so true. Our last time we were like, everyone needs to stop clowning about all the things, like reputation will come, like we're so tired of it. And then like we found out like, haha. She's like, I haven't even recorded a quarter of it. And I was like, cool. Good for you. I'm so happy actually to hear that. I laughed so hard when I read that.
I know, especially because I mean we've been clowning forever, and you know what? I'm like really happy for her because one, like I guess I'm pretty sure I think out of all the albums, I think that one, just given everything with Joe, I think would just be a harder one to re-record. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Re-recording New Year's Day, like drown me in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like kill me. So I don't blame her. I would love like I think the best part about Taylor's versions though is obviously her vault songs. So like I can't wait to someday hear her vault songs, but like Queen needs to take a break. Like she toured for 2
Yeah.
years, like she recorded all this shit. So I'm just so happy for her, but this is like again, this is why we're not clowning anymore. But like I just
Yeah.
the timing was just hilarious.
Yeah. Well,
The timing was crazy.
maybe the fact that we also talked about the Sarah J. Maas thing, like maybe we'll find out news like, "Hey guys, I haven't even started this book yet." And, I would be just as delighted. But also like I can't imagine, like you said, re-recording Reputation, especially. I mean, I don't know when she started re-recording it, but like just thinking about Tortured Poets Department and, like, how, like, all of her, like, soul and grief, like, everything was poured into that album. So, to do that and then have to do Reputation where, like, love of my life, loss of my life is, like, threaded through that whole thing. Yeah, I wouldn't wanna re-record that either.
Yeah, well, because like I don't blame her. Yeah, not enough time has passed where like, you can go back to like Speak Now and you can do Fearless and like those songs that like you recorded in your youth and like maybe at one point felt so close to. So much time has passed that like you can go back to those times and those memories and those moments and like be okay in that. I think going back to some of those moments in Reputation would just be hard.
Yeah.
It would be hard. So I'm just
Yeah.
so happy she has her master's back. I'm so happy she owns all of her shit. And now hopefully someday she can just give us some vault songs and she can just like properly like move on to this next chapter of her life, which I think is really beautiful.
Yeah, I think so too.
Besides that, besides that, Chris, have you been? How are things going? I feel like we're like now in our full summer swing, which
Yeah.
has been so interesting.
Things are good. It's kinda crazy that we're, like, mid-June. I feel
Mm.
like I haven't, like, summered, I haven't done anything yet that, like, feels like summer other than, like, some summer rereads. So I definitely need to, like, fit a beach day or 2 into my life. So I've been kinda just spending a lot of time at home. Yeah. I don't know, things are kind of dull around here, I'm not gonna lie. Been reading some real duds too lately.
Hate that.
So, I do have, like, books staring me in the face, that are gonna be great, some Carly Fortune, or, just for the summer coming up, some things that I have some faith in, so that's good, but I definitely need to be intentional, I think, about creating, like, more, like, summery moments, but it's also hard too because North Carolina is, like, 92 and the so humid, so being outside is not the same as, like, when I was back in New Jersey where summers felt a little bit more mild. Yeah.
Yeah, that humidity is no joke. It's the one I don't miss the humidity out here, I will say. Do I miss, like, my hair? I like being happy though, a little bit. I mean, even though when you, like, go to LA sometimes for the weekend, like, I can, like, feel it in my hair, like, I'm like, "Oh, wow, like, life has returned to my hair and my skin." Just, like, the little bit more of the moisture compared to being out in the desert, but yeah, girl, I mean, I could say the same. It's so I can't believe we're in the middle of June, but I also know, like, within a week, my entire summer is gonna pick up like that, so I've been in this, like, weird in-between place where, like, I'm preparing to leave. We're going on this big trip to Spain and France in a few weeks, and then I come back for a week, and then we're in Jersey, and I'm gonna be in Jersey for, like, 2.5 weeks, and then I come back, and then we have another vacation. So, like, we're low key, which I'm excited about, we're gone for the summer. I'm gonna have to figure out my take this show on the road,
Yeah.
when it comes to recording some of this stuff, but so I'm really excited. I feel like that's when, like, my summer is really gonna start. Right now, I feel like I'm in that weird in between where, like, I can't believe it's already mid-June, right? Where I haven't really started my summer reads yet, like, after this Elsie Silver book I'm reading, I think that's when I'm gonna start all of my summer reads, and, like, the one that I'm reading isn't it's like spring, so, like, it's fine. It's not the summer solstice yet by any means. I mean, the summer solstice as we record this is tomorrow, so it will be, but I am excited to, like, get into my summer reads, and then, of course, while I'm traveling, like, just really be in that space. Luckily, I haven't read a dud, like, I've been on my what were we oh, well, we I was like, "What was I reading before this?" We were reading Great Big Beautiful Life, which is the whole point of this episode.
Why we're here today.
Why we're here today. Yes, because which is actually beautiful because last summer we had our Throne of Glass summer, but then it was also our Emily Henry summer. At least for me, but yeah, I think for both of us it was our Emily Henry summer. Like we used Emily Henry as like our palette cleansers in between Throne of Glass, which is great. So then when we, now we had a new Emily Henry come out this spring. We were like, obviously, have to read this before heading into, my full summer swing vibe. So, like, between Emily Henry and then, of course, I'm still on my. This Elsie Silver is more of a Western, not a cowboy romance. I think what I really have to do is just read like the Flawless, Powerless, Heartless. I
Mm,
just need to read that series. When I was reading the back of the books this morning, so I was trying to figure it out to give everyone context. Chris and I were on Polo this morning, and I was telling her, I was like, yeah, this isn't like the Elsie's book that I'm reading right now isn't cowboy. It's more Western than like a true cowboy romance. And they were like, well, how do we describe like what is a cowboy romance? Like what is a
yeah.
cowboy? Can't wait for that to like truly we will have a whole episode on that. And I am happy. What Lila Sage book did you pick up? Because there's
I'm gonna get up.
one, I read her one, but there's another one that a girl has been posting about, and I'm like, I think I need to pick another. I think I need to pick that one up.
Wild and Wrangled. He doesn't look like a cowboy though. And he's a
I mean,
blonde. What in the name of
ooh, um,
Hmm.
we're gonna have to see how that one goes. I know I read Done and Dusted, I believe, and then I think there's another one. I think it has a green cover that this girl's been posting about, and she like said it was her all-time favorite. I'm like, maybe I'll pick that one up.
Maybe Swift and Saddled?
No, I'm sorry. Swift and Saddled was the one that I picked up.
Okay.
And it was all right. It was good, but
Mhm.
it was all right.
Mhm.
It was cowboy though. And so maybe I think it's like the green cover one. He has a cowboy hat on. I don't know. I think maybe that one. So we'll have to just really dive into. I'm using Elsie Silver now as my palette cleanser of
Mhm.
my summer books, but I am really excited to get into like we'll have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, some Carly Fortunes. I picked up a Jennifer Weiner called Big Summer just when I was at Barnes and Noble the other day. So I'm really excited. I feel like now like all the books are starting to come out, which is really, really great. Like the summary ones.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting to find my like I want like a European adventure one. Like I haven't like gotten to really taste that. gotten that,
Yeah.
like, quenched in terms of, like, I'm about to go to Europe, so, like, it'd be cool to, like, read something about that, but and I already would read One Italian Summer last summer, which I did enjoy. Um, but yeah, so I'm excited. I feel like that's kind of writing's been so few and far in between. I feel like things have been busy, and then we've just been hunkered down here, and now I'm trying to, like I would have loved to write the end before I leave. I have a feeling I'm not going to. I think I'll be writing the end when I'm in New Jersey.
Which would be really interesting
Yeah, I
and
think it'll be a full
divine
circle moment.
timing and really special.
I think so too. And so that's why, like, I'm not trying to put too much pressure on myself. I'm really just, like, letting it and we talked about this in episode 2, just, like, letting it sometimes, I think for a minute in the beginning of June, I feel like I was on such a roll, like, I hit over 100,000 words, and I'm like, "Oh my god." And then when that happened, though, then I also got in my head, I'm like, "Well, I definitely overwrote. Is this any good?" Especially now, like, I'm also, like, I'm reading and it's so easy to compare, so, like, reading Emily Henry and, of course, anytime I read Emily Henry, even though not to, like, transition and get into it, Great Big Beautiful Life wasn't my absolute favorite Emily Henry. There's just a way that Emily writes that is just so beautiful. Like, how she describes things, how she just brings you into the moment, and, like, it's just beautiful. Like, her prose is gorgeous, and I'm just like I get nervous about my own writing, and I get really in my head about my own shit, which is someone I know is unfair to compare someone's final, very edited draft to my very, very first draft, but enough about me. But that's kind of like what I feel like started my little doubting myself. And now this morning I spent time and I wrote a little bit and it was nice. So I'm excited to get back into it again. But
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna write the end. Yeah, when I'm in New Jersey. I think that's
I love that. I love that so much. So, should we dive in to our chat about Emily Henry and Great
yeah.
Big Beautiful Life?
I think we dive in.
Cool. Let's dive in.
Okay, so Great Big Beautiful Life. This came out what, in March? I want to say April-esque, sometime in
Spring
spring.
2025.
It was really interesting. Like, I feel like seeing some of the dialogue online, I think people either loved or hated it. Definitely gave very much of like Great Big Last Great American Dynasty by Taylor Swift. But for me, I didn't really again, I think I said this in a few of our last episodes too. When I know I'm going to read a book, and especially when I trust the author, for example, Emily Henry is now an author that I have trusted. So I didn't read the back of, of Great Big Beautiful Life. I don't read the back of a lot of the books that I just know that we're going to read, whether it comes from you or one of my other like book friends. I don't know why I do that. I kind of just dive on it. And so for my expectations going into the book, I didn't really have much, but it obviously always follows like the typical Emily Henry, like girls working in some type of writing field. So I didn't have any expectations, but I really like loved the setting and I feel like it really kind of like set us up for like a summery read. It took place in this beautiful like island town outside of Savannah, Georgia. So, we had the beach. Again, I just like love a beach read. So it was just really fun, but it was really interesting, like, how she laid out this book. It was basically our main character, Alice, was competing to basically, like, write the biography of this woman, Margaret, who was, like, this, like, back in the day, like, starlet. Reminded me of, like, a Marilyn Monroe minus
Mhm.
or maybe, like, a more mod no.
Or like maybe like a family, like a very pronounced family like Vanderbilt or
Yeah, I
like
was thinking even, like, the Hilton,
Rockefeller,
like,
like
Paris Hilton. Even, like, more of,
yeah.
like, a modern even though Margaret's, like, not giving Paris Hilton, but, like, do you know what I mean?
Like
But it was
heiress.
yes, like, just very, like, family, very, very wealthy family, very prominent family. Vanderbilt, I think, is a much better description, because she wasn't really an actress, like, she was just, a a
Come from
starlet.
money,
Yeah,
kind of, yeah,
yeah.
family legacy.
But she disappears, kind of falls off the face of the earth, no one really understood why, and then Alice winds up tracking her down and finding her and pitching her, "I wanna write your biography," and then she was met with this other man that Margaret brought in, Hayden, and she was like, "Well, why not the 2 of you write this biography?" And that's kind of so it was like a mix between, finding out Margaret's story, Alice then, writing said story, and then, of course, this interesting relationship with Hayden.
Mhm,
And so it was really interesting, I think how it was written
mhm.
in general. What were your initial thoughts before I, get too deep into it?
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of the book, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, because that's the Margaret story, and, writing that piece, that journalistic piece is very similar to Seven Husbands. It just Seven Husbands doesn't have that, romantic element. I did like that we had Hayden and Alice competing for this job, and, when we meet Hayden, it's definitely this grumpy sunshine kind of contrast of Alice being bubbly and sarcastic and witty, and he being more withdrawn and not showing his cards, but her kind of more fun personality breaks him. I think there was one point where she's talking and poking at him, and he finally smiles, which is always a really fun moment in a book when you
Mhm.
have that grumpy character. So I think a lot of the discussion about whether people like this book or not, a lot of it does come with "Oh, this is not romance, this isn't what I was expecting." And for me, I wasn't mad that there were 2 very strong storylines going on at the same time. I think there were just maybe some parts in the book that were added detail, and I think it was included to try to increase your character depth, which you and I talk about a lot. But instead of making the characters have more depth or backstory, I think it kind of distracted from what are we supposed to be paying attention to. And sometimes you felt, or I felt that while we were talking about the Margaret thing and hearing her backstory and all these little details, it then kind of took away from believing that Alice and Hayden had a really strong connection that then would turn into attraction, that then would turn into actual love. Because it was you knew that they were attracted together. And also, they had these moments where, they're, having these, physical encounters that I couldn't picture. I was having such a hard time. I'm like, this is, so clunky, how many hands are in this?" Like, "There's too many hands, what's happening? Why are we standing up?" Um, that's like a side. That's I'm getting in the weeds now, but I just think that, in terms of a relationship, because Emily Henry is so, romance focused most of the time, for me, it lacked probably out of all of her books, that believability for the 2 of them. I wasn't mad that it was, 2 major storylines going on and that they were weaved together. I
Mhm.
just felt like some of it could have been polished and some of it didn't need to be added to the story.
100%. I actually really enjoyed that there was this third element because I think sometimes with traditional, contemporary romance, I feel like that's the part that falls a little bit flat sometimes is that you know, the plot that is the undercurrent that is actually bringing the book along besides the romance, right? And
Yeah.
so I actually originally I thought this was a great idea and I thought it was really interesting because even how she wrote it was like, okay, like, you had chapters of Alice interviewing Margaret in real time. And then you had chapters of like, you know, Alice and Hayden running into each other in town, after they find out that they got the job and stuff like that. And then you had other chapters where it was like clearly the manuscript of like how she was formulating the book, where like not only did you have, and I think that's where it started to get redundant because you had chapters of Alice being interviewed. I'm sorry, Alice interviewing Margaret. And then you had just like text of like more details from that interview. And like again, by once we finally got to like Margaret and like Cosmo St. Clair, which was her husband, her late
Mhm.
husband, and like started again, maybe it's the romance girly in me, but like getting into that part of the romance, I just like we started with like great great grandfather and like it was just so many details. I didn't care. And then like and it there's a part that things come back around at the end, when you find out we can go into spoilers for at least this, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. When we find out that the whole reason that Hayden is here is because he is actually related to Margaret and he's her grandson. Because she gave up her child for adoption and all this crazy stuff. So it's like I understand that we maybe needed some of that like the Nicolette backstory, I guess, but I just think there's just I feel like that's just where we started to get lost in the sauce, where it was like I for a good chunk of the book, I didn't give a fuck about Margaret about Margaret's story because it wasn't
Yeah.
about her. It was like her sisters and grandfathers and dads and all this crazy shit, right? Affairs and all of this stuff, but they were still married, mistresses, secret children, all this crazy stuff, right? Like that was weird to me. And then we knew that Hayden and Alice were obviously attracted to each other, but again, I was like, if they just like grope each other one more time, like I'm gonna fucking lose it.
I
Because I'm like, to
know.
me, like this doesn't make any sense. Like, I understand that we're of course competing for the same job, but it's like you live in New York, Hayden, Alice, you live in LA. Like, this is the only time realistically that you are gonna be in the same place at the same time. So why aren't we fucking? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like that to me, that's a more believable story of like just starting of like fucking, and then even kind of like I feel like there could have been even opportunity for like kind of like hate fucking or like competing against each other because it is a competition. But he really like I think it was just Hayden's character. Like he didn't want to talk about work and he didn't want to like bring any of that up because he just wanted to get to know Alice. But I just felt like there could have been like a better like more fun dynamic there. So then about time we get to the end, yeah, they've been fucking for a minute and like, obviously falling more in love than like groping each other for a little bit and then like finally fucking at the end. And then like now, turns out the book wasn't even supposed to be a real thing because it was just a way for Margaret to get Hayden here in a believable way. And then Alice has this whole other storyline with her mom. So it was just like
Yeah.
it was really interesting. We just had like a lot of different things going on, which again I'm fine with. But it then just made the end romance like I feel like just fall a little short, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, well, when reading this book, there was a lot of things that I thought Emily Henry was setting us up for. So, in the beginning of the book, there was a lot of mention of Alice's sister
Yes.
who has this like heart condition, who she has experienced many episodes throughout life of being like really worried for her. And so, that we're talking about the sister, like, for the first part of the book for a really long time, but then it seems to transition to thinking about the death of her father and also her relationship with her mother, and then all of a sudden, like, we're not talking about the sister anymore. We're talking about the mom, and so it kinda gave this feeling like either Emily Henry didn't know how it was gonna end, which is fine because I think that's very common when people write
I'm
books,
like,
they
"Been there."
don't know how it's gonna end. But, like, it was just, like, one of these things, like, did she go in a different direction? Like,
Yeah.
why was this included? I mean, the only thing I can think of was because the sister of Margaret was so important in the story, and maybe she was trying to make a connection of, like, understanding that sisterly, like, love or protection, but, like,
Yeah.
that never got,
Yeah.
like, pieced together if that was the intention in any way. Um, and even you mentioned, I think, in one of our polos about, like, the friends, which,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I love that, we're not so insular where we're only Hayden and we're only Alice and this story about Margaret. Like, we have friends, we have support, but it didn't seem necessary to include them unless, like, it's, like, one of those, like, which Emily Henry doesn't do, though. You know how you have those, like, books like Abby Jimenez or, like, other people where, one character was, like, in a past book, so it, like,
Yeah.
makes sense for them to be present in this book.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't know if we needed everything.
Yeah, I agree, especially because I think it was one of the first things we called out. I was like, "Oh, the sister, like, something's gonna happen with the sister, yada, yada, yada." Because like, she really went in on, like, the anxiety that she had with her sister and, like, all of this stuff, and yeah, like, Margaret did have this whole episode with the sister, which again, once we finally got to Margaret's sister and Cosmo St. Clair in the story,
Yeah,
I really was like I'm like, "This is this is what I wanted. This is what I like, this is like what's really interesting about this whole story." But it was just so interesting because even I remember the mom saying, like, because I think, like, I don't know if it was just like an antidote of like, it almost felt like by the end, I'm like, was this just like a weird antidote of like just putting something into like a story into a character just to explain why they have anxiety or explain why like she's so bubbly or giddy or like joyful because she had to learn how to be with like the present moment. Like it felt like it was just something that like you thought it was going to be part of the plot, but it actually just like was a random like backstory piece. Where even like I remember maybe the mom was calling and because she hasn't heard from her mom in a while, she was like, "Oh my god, is sister okay?" And she was like, "Why would
yeah,
she not be okay?" And it was like,
yeah,
okay. I'm like, "This is so weird." I'm like, "This is so odd." And then it turned out to just, like, not really be about the sister at all. Sister's totally fine. And really the whole story and, like, more of the contentment, I feel like, was more so within, you know, Alice and her mom wanting Alice to do more with her work and not really understanding her, and her dad being the one that just understood her a little bit more and, like, instead of having this biography about Margaret, Alice is like, "You know what? I wanna stay and get my dad's story because it's not too late," and which I thought was beautiful, by the way. Like, how, like, she felt like she missed out on some of the stuff with her dad and getting his story and wishing that, like, she was there, and so she was like, "Oh, I can actually get that with my mother." And so, especially when things blow up with Margaret in the book and 'cause, that's also a contentment thing being like Margaret basically cornering Alice and being like, "I know you found out about Hayden, but, like, you have an NDA, so you can't tell him." I'd be like,
yeah,
"Bitch, fuck you." Like, "Sue me." Like, "Sue me, bitch." Like, "Fucking sue me." You're
yeah,
not. And also, like but that's what I but I would have probably done the same thing with that Alice has done. I've been like, "Look, like, I'm in love with this man. I know you don't know him, but, like, we've been fucking." And, like, you like, I know you feel a type of way about Cosmo, so, like, you can't have me do this. Like, that's messed up. And, of course, once she got the letter, everything was fine. And I low key did love that she sent Hayden the letter too.
mhm,
I thought that was really cute. So like, the ending itself, I thought was really interesting and good. Like, I didn't see Hayden being Margaret's grandson at all.
me
Like, that
neither.
was a twist that I truly did not see coming. And that's why, like, the plot and, like, the ideas, everything, like, I feel like was set up for success. It just, like, the execution of everything just kind of then made those big moments kind of fall flat.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. So what did you rate this book?
I think I rated it a I guess I should, like, let me look at my Fable because I forget. I think I rated it a 4, like a
Mhm.
solid 4, because I liked the ending. Finish, let me see. Ooh, I rated a 3.5. I liked the ending. I loved the setting. To me, like, I think the setting was my favorite part, and I liked that they were competing. I just feel like the execution of the relationship between Alex and Hayden was weird. Like, them obviously getting to know each other and just groping each other and making out every once in a while and not, like, just doing the damn thing, and then being like, "Okay, well, maybe we'll see, after we get the job, like, where it goes." I'm like, "Well, how? We live in completely different areas,
Yeah.
completely different sides of the country." It's just like, and then for it to end being like, "Okay, we're gonna do the book together," which I did love. Like, this was like the end, like, we did the book together, which I love. Alice is like, "I wanna stay near my mom." And then Hayden's just like, "Oh, well, like, I can just work, for somewhere in Atlanta." So it just all it was just like there were parts of it that I thought were really sweet, and then there were other parts that did fall a little short. And, like, Margaret kind of turning into, like, a total, like, kinda like a bitch by the end, I feel like
Yeah.
also kinda, like, threw me a little. Which was just really interesting. So, yeah, I rated it 3.5. It was my least favorite Emily Henry out of all of the Emily Henrys.
Yeah. Yeah. I I was going to rate it a 3.5, and then I started thinking about all the other Emily Henrys, and I was like, "Well, I rated Beach Read a 3, and I know I liked it less than that, so I'm like, I'm not going under 3." So then I did it, like, made Great Big Beautiful Life. I rated it a 3, and for, like, all the reasons that we talked about. It just wasn't my favorite. It felt a little flat in some places, but I also really enjoyed it. So, sometimes 3s for
Yeah.
me sometimes 3s, like, 3s are interesting. Like, I could say, like, 3 isn't bad. 3 is good. It's just, it's not memorable. It doesn't stand out to me. It's not I probably won't go back to read it again.
I was gonna say, I'm like, a 3 is, like, solid. I got through it. I enjoyed it while I was reading it, but it's not, like, impacting me in any way, and, like, I definitely wouldn't reread it by any
Yeah.
means.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanna go through because now, like, we have officially finished all of the Emily Henry universe. You most recently finally reading People We Met on Vacation. So I kinda wanna go through and, like, rank our Emily Henry faves.
Sure. Um,
So, should we start with, I think we both know 5.
yeah.
Is 5 for you, Great Big Beautiful Life as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, let's start there and then we can make our way to 1 because I think that'd be
Okay.
more fun. Okay, so what's 4 for you?
I think it's really hard. It's either beach read or people we meet on vacation. Bleh, vacation.
Me too.
I really don't I'm not sure. It's been a minute since I've read Beach Read. Beach Read might be 4th for me,
Mhm.
but I do like Beach Read's characters more than I like People We Meet on Vacation's characters.
Yeah.
So, I think that's just what I have to say. Beach Read, I liked the characters better. People We Meet on Vacation, I loved the whole taking a trip every year. I loved that because
It's like
I would
us!
love I want to do like, yes, that's we're trying to make that a thing.
Yes.
Um, so just to, like, be in different settings and, like, going back and forth and kinda, like, figuring out what happened, and I haven't read a Friends to Lovers book in a really long time,
Mhm.
very few of them. So, like, that was fun and interesting. Yeah, where's your like, how would you do 3 and 4?
Yeah, I would say probably 4 would be. I agree, as, like, book lovers and people we met on vacation, it's hard to go back and forth between. I would say, though, we met on vacation would be 4.
Okay.
just because of the characters. Like, again, I love the plot and, like, this that's the one that's becoming a movie right now. So I'm really excited to, like, see how it plays out on the big screen. I love that it took place in Palm Springs. I'm literally it's like my
Yeah.
neck of the woods. I always just, like, I don't know, for whatever reason, I feel like I always pick up a book and there's always something in it that, like, is, like, supposed to, like, speak to me at that time. For example, in Great Big Beautiful Life, it was Alice and her mom and, like, choosing to, like, go back home and staying with her mom and stuff like that. However, like, for me, how People We Met on Vacation, like, the end, the miscommunication trope, like, really, like, we couldn't get them to talk to each other, and it really pissed me off.
Yeah.
Book lovers, I loved Charlie. I loved that man.
I thought Book Lovers is your favorite.
I'm sorry. I'm talking about Beach Read. Sorry, sorry,
Okay.
sorry, sorry,
I was
sorry.
like
Sorry, 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 sorry.
sorry, I
I'm
just
talking
spoiled what's number 1.
No, it's okay. Beach Read, I'm so sorry. Beach Read, I loved Gus. Sorry.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
loved Gus. He was a great, great character. Now seeing their names next to each other, though, January and Augustus, I'm like, we really played on the months of it all. My thing with Beach Read, though, is that, like, and maybe it's just because we're East Coast girlies, we're not this is called Beach Read, we didn't go to the beach at all.
No.
We didn't
I
go to the beach
know.
once. Like, not even, like, their little lake beach, they went at, like, the end, it was crazy, I'm like so I just didn't it's not my favorite. Beach Read wasn't my favorite, and that's why I have a hard time, like, to me, just for the fact that it didn't take place on a beach makes me wanna put it up 4th.
Literally,
But
a star is immediately moved because what did I pick up? I picked up beach read and we're not at the beach.
no, 100%. And the only reason why it's 3rd is because Gus, it was great. Like, he hot as hell.
Mhm.
January's alright. Like, the fact that she's, like, writing this weird thing about, like, clowns and,
Yeah,
like, the
yeah.
circus, like, it was just, like, not my it just wasn't my, like, cup of tea, but,
Yeah,
like, I liked Gus a lot, and that's what makes it that book a 3 compared to People We Met on Vacation.
yeah.
If Gus wasn't Gus, it would definitely solidly be 4, because, yeah, for the fact that this fucking book is called Beach Read with a woman lying on a towel reading a
Oh.
book.
Right, very misleading.
Oh, and it's not and she's not even, like, writing she's not even writing a beach read. It's like a crazy, like, circus, like, fiction book, like, it was crazy. So I'm like, nothing about it was a beach read, and I say this and, like, maybe being East Coast girl is because, like, it takes place in Michigan. They're on Lake Michigan, that's their, like, beach. I don't mean to put that in quotes, I'm sorry. I just, like, I'm so confused. Like, so, like, to me, yeah, beach but people love beach read,
They
and
do.
so, like, I am sorry to the girlies that I'm really, like, hating on beach read, but I'm not, like, hating on it. Again, I think, Gus was one of the best male main characters I think
Yeah,
Emily's written.
yeah,
Which is what makes it a 3, but, like, the fact that we call that book beach read and had nothing to do with the beach or writing a beach read in general is fucking crazy to me.
yeah.
I don't understand how we got there.
I agree, I agree. The other thing to say real quick about people we meet on vacation that was confusing to me is, like, one thing is, like, when they're in the desert, she's trying to say, like, "Oh, my company's paying for it and stuff, but we're doing this, like, cheap thing because she's actually paying for it,
Yeah.
and, like, the air conditioning is not working, and I'm like, "For me, I don't care. I am busting out my credit card and we're going to a hotel with air. And
Oh,
also, I understand you live in New York and it's expensive and like all of these things, but you're telling me you live in New York City and you have this job at this like top company and you can't afford a hotel. And then when they actually say enough's enough and they go to the hotel, they mention that it's $70 a night. And I'm like, why didn't we like this just now I'm mad because why
No,
didn't we
that was crazy. I agree. I'm like, we're grown. Like, we're so grown. Like, I understand the sentiment, like, oh, like, doing it like we were in college, but like we're not in college anymore. We're not a couple of 20-something-year-olds. Like, I think they're in their 30s. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to stay in a hostel.
Yeah,
I'm used to a comfortable way of living, especially again, the heat in Palm Springs is no fucking joke. Like, you've gotta be kidding me. Also, like, with the pool, like, everything yeah, that was the one, like, frustrating thing. I'm like, to me, I don't care how broke you are. Yeah, you're whipping out that credit card or even, like, Alex being like, girl, like, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't care anymore. Like, I don't wanna be
yeah,
here. Our friendship is already on the rocks. So, like,
right.
let's not make it worse by being overstimulated by, like, not having any fucking air conditioning. Yeah, I agree. It was just, like, it was so interesting. And yeah, I just, like, to me, I think my biggest frustration was, like, those 2 just, like, couldn't talk to each other for the life of them
Yeah.
for some reason.
He
And
couldn't
I think a
even
lot of
he
that was Poppy's fault, in my opinion.
I do too, but it was also just, like, part of their personalities, like, he's like, "Oh, I'll take this, uh, this chair, I'll sleep in this chair," even though he has, like, back problems and all this stuff, or, like, he just, like, never told her when he was feeling uncomfortable. There were
Yeah,
times when I was reading it, I was like, "Oh my god, I am him. No, I'm him." And just, like, the exes, I don't know. It's freshest in my mind, so I could talk a long time about it, but we can move
yeah.
on. We can move on. But
Okay.
I did just notice we've been saying 5, 4, 3, but there's 6 books.
Oh, shit, okay. I was looking at the list, I was like, "Ooh," because I'm looking at the list, they're not numbered. Okay, so so yeah, we're doing this. So for me, 6 is Great Big Beautiful Life.
Yes.
Then I think we do People We Met on Vacation, then Book Lovers.
Mhm.
So that's
No,
5,
beach read.
4.
Beach
What?
read, not book it's beach read, not book lovers.
Oh my god, what's wrong with me? I need I need to actually I'm whipping out my thing right now and I'm gonna I'm gonna write it so I don't get fucking confused. Okay. Okay, why don't you talk us so what's your 3?
Okay, so to clarify, number 6 is Great Big Beautiful Life. Number 5 is People We Meet on Vacation. Number 4 is Beach Read. For me, number 3 is Happy Place.
Tell me about it. Because that was your because for me, Happy Place was my first book. That was the first Emily Henry book I ever read. And so
Yeah.
it'll always hold a special place in my heart. It also is my number 3. But so it always hold a special place in my heart because it I feel like it brought me back to like remembering what I love about contemporary romance because I was in, I wasn't reading for a while and I just we were in fantasy for a little and I didn't know and Happy Place like really brought me back to a really great place. And so it'll always be my hold a special place in my heart, but it's still not my favorite. So tell me about
Yeah.
your experience with Happy Place.
It was my second Emily Henry book, I believe. So, and compared to the first one I read, it was very different. I really liked when I liked the setting because it was like more like it was New England, like coastal situation, I think. Maybe it was Maine, which I went to Maine last year and I love Maine and everything about Maine. Liked that it incorporated a friend group, like an entire friend group, as part of like the story.
Mhm.
Um, I remember, I don't remember her name, but the best friend that like brought them all there,
Mhm.
she really irritated me. But I liked that we were just like in a friend group. It kind of like brought me back to like college days a bit and just like, being in a fun little group. And just like the second chance of her and
Well, that's what's been fucking me up because
Harriet and Win.
I keep looking at the cheat sheet and then in that order, and then so that's why, like,
Yeah.
it keeps fucking me up, which is why I just had to go and write my own.
Harriet and
Yeah, what are
Win.
our character name? Harriet and Win. Yeah,
Harriet
I
and Win.
really and it was a little bit of fake dating, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like,
Right, exactly.
fake
Yeah.
engagement, and yeah, but, like, to them, but then, like, it's also second chance. I know, I really enjoyed it. I absolutely loved the setting. Yes, you do feel like you're back in college because you have, like, all of your friends, and I think, like, especially as you get older too, like, you just realize how few and far between,
Yeah.
obviously, like, that becomes, you know what I mean? So, like, there's, like, you read it and there's, like, little, like, reminiscent vibes of, like, you remembering your old friends and, like, being able to take a trip like this and all of that, and yeah, I loved the setting. I love, again, because I do love a fake dating, a fake engagement, and
The
so this was
shower.
really interesting. Yeah, the shower scene, was really nice. The shower scene was nice. And yeah, we get a little, because those are all my favorite tropes. Like, I love a fake dating, I love a second chance romance,
Yeah.
and, you know, especially because, like, you know, they were in a relationship and then broke off, and, like, how, you know, what's different this time? Like, how could they come back together? I just thought it was really beautiful, and I love how it ended. Like, I love that, like, she's in Montana, like, it's fucking doing
Yeah.
pottery and shit. Like, I don't know, it's like, I'm like, "Oh, girl, you're, like, living my dream." Like,
Yeah.
it was really, I just felt like it was really wholesome. The friend dynamics were really, by the end, really great. Like, I think everyone had the conversations that they had to have. Like, it was just, like, a really solid, great read.
Mhm.
I It's been literally forever since I've read it, so I can't speak too much into the details on it and remember certain aspects, but the overall arching, like, I would love to read that one again just because it was really like, it's just, like, really wholesome and, like, really cute.
Yeah, I agree. So that's 3 for you as
That
well?
was 3 for me as well. That was 3 for me because 2 for me is Funny Story.
Mhm.
I really, really loved Funny Story. So that was Emily Henry's release last year.
Yep.
And again, everything in Emily Henry, she always writes something that's very pertinent to me at the time that I'm reading it. But I just loved, again, we love a close proximity. I love just I think just like how everything started, like, you know, two exes like being jaunted and then just like needing a place to live and having to, you know, come together in that. But like Miles is hot, like Daphne's so cute, like, with her little, like, library life. I just, and you didn't know, like, how it was gonna go or, like, you know, because they still had their exes and they were both Daphne and Miles in general are, like, very, like, different from their exes, and, like,
Yeah.
each other are different from their exes. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it's, like, really interesting, like, you kinda get in your head, you're like, "Oh, like, well, does, you know, Miles still want that, like, fun-loving whatever?" Like, for Daphne, I forget her fucking ex's name, but, like, genuinely, like, I just, like, to me, I just, like, couldn't believe that then, like, I'm like, "Okay, like, your best fucking friend," which, like, to me, would be an automatic, like, I would never in a million years, I'm sorry, let my man invite his, like, girly best friend
To
to
the
some,
Bachelor
I mean, like,
situation?
and maybe that's toxic of me. Maybe that's toxic of me. I think it
No,
just
I
dep
don't like it.
I think it just depends on the relationship. Like, if it really is truly like sister vibes, but like as you read, there was never sister vibes. It was always like, oh, our parents thought we were going to end up together, yada, yada, yada. And then like they finally went and did that. And I was like, to me, like, I just could never. I did love their like dance moment when they were at the school dance though. And like
Mhm.
Miles and Daphne were together and like she saw her ex. Like, I just feel like that book, like, you got to like live out all the things that like you've ever wanted to do, like in if you were ever in a moment like that of
Yeah.
like your ex being with his best fucking friend that you never had to worry about anything with. Meanwhile, like,
Coming home before the wedding, be like, "Hey, I know we're supposed to get married, but I just realized I love my best friend." Devastating.
oh, oh, immediate, I mean, immediate murder for me. Like, immediate assault. I'm I'm sorry, I'm not that sorry to say. Yeah, because that's crazy. Because again, the thing is like, you move me to your hometown, you move me to this place, I'm trying to find a job, I'm trying to do all this for you, buy this house, it's in your name, we're about to get married, and then you go and cheat on me with your best friend, at your bachelorette par your bachelorette at your bachelor party, and then come back and like, "Oh, yeah, I'm in love with her instead. I need you to move out."
Yeah.
She's gonna move in. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, literally like,
Wild. It's
"Oh,
kind of unbelievable. Like, you're kind of like, "Okay, this is, like, maddening," especially because then, like, "Oh, like, now I'm gonna move in with, like, the other one that like, her boyfriend that she just dumped," and in your way, you're like, "This is a lot," but at the same time, you're like, "I'm eating this whole thing up."
oh, yeah." No, it was great. It was
Yeah.
great. I mean, to me, it's believable in the way, like, I 100% believe that, like, that has happened. Like,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm grateful that, like, yeah, mom's like, "Well, I need a place to I need a roommate." And so it was just so funny. It really was funny. Like, it was just funny how it happened and, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, how then their relationship progressed, and I loved the full circle moment because of how she started it was, like, how her ex used to describe them meeting for the first time,
Yeah.
and how then it ended with Miles being like, "Oh, it's a funny story," and he would let me tell it because I guess with
Yeah.
the ex, it'd be like he would tell the story, he loved telling the story.
Yeah.
And so, like, to me, it was just, like, the full circle moments of, like, everything, and then, like, yeah, shit with the ex came back and, like, both of them because then they were like, "Oh, yeah, we're actually not meant to be," and it's like, "Y'all, this is why you don't like, this is why you take a minute to,
Yeah.
like, before you blow up your fucking life, like, you've been friends for years and you're gonna go blow up an engagement and then another relationship. I'm sorry, you couldn't have taken a minute to just be really fucking sure before you blow everyone else's life up and then realize, come and be like, actually, like, we're not actually that compatible. Like, what the
Whoops.
like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? To me, like, if you go and do that, that is your end game. Like, that's your end game. Like, y'all are like, because that's the only reason that makes anything like that okay is like, oh, well, like, they've been written in the stars. Like,
Mhm.
they're their end game. That's how they have to go about it in order to make what they did. I mean, it's never okay, but like in their brain, in order to go to sleep tonight, that's how you make that okay.
Yeah.
So for the fact that, like, then they go through all of this, literally uproot everyone's life, devastate everybody around them, and then be like, "Oh, yeah, actually, like, never mind, like, we're actually not that compatible, and, like, I think we should get back together." Like, again, like, the general audacity
Right.
is insane to me. It's
Yeah.
insane to me.
Yeah. I what I also really liked about, Funny Story, and I would rank it as number 1 for me. I love the part of, like, Daphne, she's like, "I moved here and, like, so much of my life is, like, defined by her fiancé." Her friend group is his friend group, like, she's here she has this job at the library, and that's kind of all she has, but, like, when they break up, her coming to terms with, like, "Do I stay here or do
Mhm.
I go back home? Like, is this something that like, can I make home here?" In a way,
Yeah.
and so, as she's fake dating Miles, but, like and then, like, obviously, like, feelings, like, grow, but she's still prioritizing at the same time, like, even if I'm not with Miles, like, do I love my job? Yes, I love my job. Taking in the surroundings and the place that she lives and kind of just, like, determining whether, like, she can make home here or she can call it home too. It's not her ex's home, it's, like, her home. And so I kinda really liked that piece of the book too, of her, like, own, like, journey
Yes,
working through
that's
all
what made
that.
it so good.
Yeah.
That's the recipe to, like, a great contemporary romance for me is, like, yes, we have the breakup, we have the romance, but there's this inner healing and part of it where it's like, 'cause that's so real. That is
Yeah.
so real, like,
Yeah.
just having your life be defined by the person that you're with, and when it blows up in your face, though you never thought it ever would, sometimes it happens, and it blows up in your face, and you're kind of come face to face with, like, "Holy shit." Like, well, now I have this job, and I live in this place where I don't have any family, I don't have any friends, like, I'm crashing with my ex-fiance's
Mm.
fiance's
Ex
ex-boyfriend, You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's messy as hell. I don't have any friends. I don't have any family. Like, I just have this job. Do I wanna go home? A
Mhm.
lot of people would, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of people
Yeah.
would, right? Because I feel like having that support system is so important, and, like, her being like, "You know what? Like, actually, I really love this job, and I love this library, and I'm falling in love with this town, and just because this man is here and it's his home doesn't mean it can't be mine." And,
Yeah.
like, you just don't get that you don't get that very often, and I loved that about this book too, and, like, just really, like, also not feeling like she had to run away from
Mhm.
him and, like, running
Mhm.
into him and, like, having him have power over her because he had so much power in the relationship in general. He owned the house, he picked where they were living, you know, his family, his friends, etcetera. Like, their dynamic was always so imbalanced, and so, like, her really, like, growing into herself and, like, just deciding for her, I just thought was
Yeah.
so beautiful.
And the dad element too. Um,
I don't remind me? I don't remember the dad element.
it was like he like, she had, like, a dad that was, like, very flighty and, like,
Yeah.
showed up and then, like, would disappear for years, and so you had this layer of her, like, dad visiting and then her getting her hopes up of, "Oh, we're gonna do all this stuff tomorrow," and, like, then be like, "Hey, kiddo, friends over here," and then he, like, bails again and, like,
Yeah.
just kind of, like, working through the fact that, like, home or, like, her relationship with, like, dad also is, like, in that narrative of, like, what does home mean and stuff like that, so yeah.
Uh, yeah, and that's why I
Depth.
like, it's yeah, I'm like, resonate with that too well, way too well, and I think that's why, like, Funny Story is one of my favorites just because, like, everything about it, I feel like I resonated so deeply, like, the relationship dynamics, the dad thing, moving so far away from your family and friends and just starting to understand, like, where you stand in that, like, it's so real. It's so real, and I feel like it's not written about all the time when it comes to these types of books and these romances, and I think Emily just did such an amazing job, and it's yeah, I love and I think that's one of the trips that we have to take. One of these summers is an Emily Henry summer. Like, I think we need to, like, find the Michigan lake town or whatever and, like, have ourselves, like, an Emily Henry summer.
Yeah,
I think we
I agree.
must. After we go to the Cotswolds, after we have our, cowboy
Country
our
cowboy.
cowboy summer. This is why we'll have to have ChatGPT. I mean, we did have ChatGPT pick for us this time too, but now I feel like that we're really in it with all of our tropes. We have more to choose from that isn't like random places that we're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
we can go here." So, so fun. Anyway, but yeah. So for you, Funny Story is your number 1.
yeah.
Okay. So interesting because yes, Funny Story for me is number 2. So this is the only place that we differ.
Mhm.
Because for me, Book Lovers is my number 1. But I'll let
Yeah,
you talk about Book Lovers first so then I can
okay.
just go off on mine.
Yeah, I love how much you love book lovers because I feel like it, like, coincides with, like, where you were at that time and just, like, your love for New York
It always
and
does. That's what I'm saying. I'm like
publishing, like
it always does. I'm like, am I just this intuitive or like, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like, and I think that's why, like, when you're in the bookstore, I think that's what the magic about being at a bookstore is. And
Yeah.
like, when you are drawn to certain books, because again, Book Lovers was the second book I ever read. So Happily Placed was my first. And then I didn't touch Emily Henry in forever. And then
Mhm.
I was at the bookstore trying to find what we wanted to read when I was on vacation last summer, and that's when I picked up Lovers, and that's kind of what kicked off my Emily Henry summer,
Yeah.
and it was so pertinent to what I was going through at the time.
Yeah. And I think what I enjoyed so Book Lovers was the first Emily Henry that I read, but I feel as though it was, like, the first contemporary romance that I have read in a very, very long time, because I've read books with romance, I've in the past read a lot of, like, historical fiction or did, like, the Nicholas Sparks or, like, Ellen Hildebrand type books that are, like, romance, but they're very, like, light. I really think book lovers launched me into, like, my 1 or 2 full, like, contemporary romance years
Mhm.
because ever since picking up book lovers, I have not really read any, historical fiction or contemporary fiction or literary fiction in, like, a hot minute. So, like, I do thank Emily Henry and book lovers specifically for, like, launching me into this, like, just romance obsession now. So, I mean, in that I love that it was, like, in the middle of nowhere, like, North Carolina because so relatable. I feel like I live in middle of nowhere, North Carolina. And, just that it kinda gave that kind of, like, Hallmark Christmas movie thing of, like, publisher from New York goes to, like, small town, runs into grumpy other person, and, like, it just,
Grumpy.
like
Like, I would say, I think what was his name?
Charlie.
Charlie. I think Charlie's probably the grumpiest grump
Yeah.
that Emily has written. In, like,
Yes.
such a New York way, like,
Yes.
it was just so New
Yes.
York, like, it was so good. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. No, so it it checks, like, all the boxes of that, like those, like, cheesy movies that you, like, love, but then it's, like, in a way that it's, like, not cheesy, not corny, it's, like, very well done, and, like, you just, like, eat it up, and so, yeah, overall, I just really loved the story, and I really loved the characters. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to
Yeah,
add.
so I love book lovers. I do. Book lovers to me, because like, I love funny story, but I loved book lovers, and I think just because of obviously my own, like, bias feelings when it comes to, yeah, my love for New York and all of that, but you put it really well where it's like, it has like, the characteristics of, like, that cheese Hallmark movie where, like, big city girl comes to, like, the small quaint town, but instead of, like, falling in love with, like, the bartender at the small quaint town or whatever, it was like she somehow found another, like, diehard New Yorker and, like, bonded over, like, their love for New York, and, like, they were she was here with her sister on this, like, trip or whatever, and, they Nora and Charlie, because they were both in the industry, they're both, well, I guess Charlie's an editor, she's an agent, has this bit of a past, but, like, I just loved their energy. I also think there's something really special because me moving out to California, I always find it so interesting because you always do still find your East Coast people even when
Yeah.
you're out here, and there's, like, the weird special, like, energy and bond to that, and so I just, like, thought that was so fun, and for me, I was also in New Jersey at the time. I was just about to go to New York, and I just, like you just don't read a lot, and, like, don't get me wrong, I love my cowboy romances, but you don't get to read a lot about, like, someone just truly, like, actually loving the city and, like, loving the energy and loving the person that you are while you're there, and, like, the city will for me, the city being New York, always will hold a special place in my heart. Grew up there, and it reminded me of, like, this little special spot. I loved Charlie, and I also loved that, like, it wasn't just like that also their ending where it was like she went back to New York because as she should, and, like, he had to stay, because his parents' cafe or bookstore?
Yeah, the bookstore.
He had to take that over, and so Nora low-key kinda got Charlie's job, which was beautiful, and, like, but also, like, incredibly sad. I remember, like, her going back to New York, and I'm like, "This is horrible." Like,
Yeah.
horrible. Even her being like, "Oh, you can have my apartment." I'm like, "This is terrible, and I don't know how they're supposed to do this." And then I knew sister was gonna come through. She's like, "No, I'll manage the store. You go be in New York." And, like, it was just I don't know. I ate that book. I ate book lovers up.
Yeah.
And I remember my grandma, I was, like, reading it on, like, our, because I was down the shore, at my grandmother's house, and I remember I was, like, reading outside in the morning, and my grandma was like, "I've just never seen someone smile so much." Well, like, I've never seen someone enjoy reading a book so much. I'm like, "I'm really I'm really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying this." Also, them, like, hooking up at the library, like, I don't know, like or, like, with, like, the bookshelves, maybe they were at the cafe, like, I don't remember. It was just well, because they were helping edit together the new book, like, I don't know. I also like that little bit of, like, a workplace romance. I do always kinda
Mhm.
fuck with a workplace romance too. I don't know. I'm like an HR violation waiting to happen, but, anyway anyway, yeah, book lovers for me, I think a lot with the characters, the setting, and I think, like, what I was moving through in that time, like, I was so reminiscent of, like and I think just feeling so nostalgic of being back east. I have such a, a soft spot for New York and, all of it. It just spoke so much to me. So it's my favorite. But it's really hard because there's so much of Funny Story too that, like, really hits me very
Yeah.
hard as well. But
Which
I
is
just
what
remember finishing Book Lovers. I'm like, "Chris, you need to read this book right fucking now, immediately." Like, immediate immediately. And
and I'm
then
saying
we
very
took off from
thankful.
there.
I'm very thankful because we got Emily Henry out of it, and, and that's what I love about books is too, is, like, when you can relate to something in it or see yourself in, like, a main character or just, like, what you're going through and apply it and just feel seen by the book, and I would say, like, I think there's a component in all of Emily Henry's books of that. I think there's somewhere, again, talking about the way that she, like, describes things or articulates something, I can always, like, really pull myself into the story or relate to the story in some way. She's
Ugh,
got a way of doing that,
she really
you know?
does. It's beautiful. Like, it really is. And I know, like, the other girlies, they write their it's like their universes, their little series, But, like, I love I love Emily Henry writing one-off books. Like, I love
Yeah,
that we just get the one. I love that I don't need to, like because even for, like, for example, like, with Elsie Silver or Ali Hazelwood Abby Jimenez, technically, I'm about to read the 3rd book in that little universe for Just for the Summer. I'm the queen of, like, not ever reading the full thing or jumping into the middle of things just because, like, I don't know, I love reading a one-off without especially if it's to me, series is like fantasy.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, if I'm gonna read a series, I'm gonna read a whole, like, thing, I want it to be to me, like, the plot needs to be there. I don't need to read about, like, everyone's fucking brother getting with everyone's fucking
yeah,
sister. LOL.
right.
And then like, the new girl coming to town and getting, with someone's stepdad. I'm just like, like,
Yeah,
I'm just like, so as much as I love it, like, to me, I'd rather read those as one-offs, and I think, like, contemporary romance for me, like, I'm such a to me, it's like it's such a one-off genre for me, and I
yeah,
love that aspect of it. That's what I love about Emily Henry. There's no pressure of like, oh, well, I like for example, I picked up Swift and Saddle for Lila Sage. That was technically the 2nd book in that like series of
yeah,
things. I don't know. But, like, I'm like, it didn't matter to me. Where
mhm,
like and sometimes like, oh well, do I want to go back and read? I'm like, I don't know. Where like Emily Henry, I do just love that like we just get this
yeah,
picture
yeah, I
in
think
this
so.
setting in this town and like her next book will be somewhere completely different. Like I love how each of these books have different settings. I love like I don't know. And like her settings are always so beautiful. Like I don't
Yeah,
know. Like I love every single one. Like that's what I love about Great Big Beautiful Life. Like her setting in that like island town in Georgia, beautiful. Like
yeah,
the random middle of nowhere town even in North Carolina, gorgeous. Like I don't know. It's just I love all of it.
and I also love the single POV.
Oh, yes. Yes, 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 yes. I agree. I don't yeah, I agree. I just don't think it's done enough. I don't think it's done enough.
I
And
feel
from
like
someone that has a heart have soft spots from writing a single POV contemporary romance, I don't know why it's not done enough.
Maybe, and I don't, maybe it's like a, like how the trends change, because I feel like back in the day, whenever that was, when I was in like college, early 20s, I feel like most of my books were single POV.
Mhm.
Um, and it's only in this last year as I've read, or maybe it's just reading more romance, I don't know. The dual POV comes around,
Yeah.
and it really, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a podcast for another time, but I really easily can get triggered by a dual POV and, like, being like, "Ugh, ugh," like
I think for me, I mean, it even follows like it's just really hard. I feel like you have a hard time like getting into the story because you're flopping back and forth and like to me I like to think of a movie. And I think that's why like Emily Henry and even like Fourth Wing, like we follow Violet's point of view. You know what I mean? And like there's just a beautiful when you are reading a book or you're reading a piece of work, like when you are following at least one person, it can even be third person, but like
Yeah,
close third person point of view from this character. I just feel like you get so much deeper into the story and you can really put yourself in it. I'm
yeah,
not putting myself into like Ford's point of view.
right.
Like, you know what I mean? Yes, I think there's a part where I think the girlies love the yearning and they love to like be in that mind and like love like knowing how much their
They're
girl is
desired and,
affecting
like,
him.
yeah,
100%. But for me, I don't think that's needed. I feel like you can communicate that and have that come through just as well in a single POV in, because even like, yes, this was single POV, third person. I think it was close third person, I would say. I don't think
mhm,
Alice
yeah,
ever said I. I think it was
mhm,
always Alice. So like, I don't know. I just like I love it. I
yeah.
love it. I love single POV and I love that way of writing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
But
you can put yourself in the story, you can relate to the main character because you're constantly there in their head or in their thoughts or how they're experiencing the situation or the world. You're able to grow in all, let's say, 32 chapters or whatever it is. So when you split it up, for me, I feel very detached and I feel like I can't put myself in the story, which is my favorite part of reading is like putting myself in what's happening and like just like daydreaming away. Um
100%.
and so I understand the desire to be in the man's head or whoever the opposite, person, the partner is. But for me, because I'm like in relishing in like this main character, I'm also experiencing the love interest through that lens and through my lens. And so when we're inviting his lens into that, most of the time I end up being like, "Oh, no," or, like, I cringe or, like, feel super embarrassed because all of a sudden, like, this person that's supposed to be, like, really attractive to me, now I'm hearing how they're like, ugh, I'm trying to think of an example, but, like, "Oh, her ass looks so good, I just wanna squeeze it." I'm just like, "Bleh." I'm
For
just like
me? No, totally, like, I don't wanna know about your dick twitching every time you look at me.
no.
And the girls love writing about
They
the dick twitching, and I'm like, "Dude, does that happen? I don't wanna know."
I don't
Does it
like it.
happen? No, 100%. I'm like, I there's a way that you can write that can describe desire and feeling desired by the man without needing to know he's about to cum his pants. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
because sometimes, like, to me, and maybe I'm just, like, so vanilla, everybody, but, like, to me, that comes across as, like, a little, like, degrading and, like, gross, and, like, it comes across as, like, the guy at the bar that's, like, flirting or talking to you, and you do not want you're like, "Oh, like, get this guy away from me,"
yeah.
that's for some reason when I read it, I'm just like, "No."
Well, I think especially just even think of, like, when you are at the bar and you see the guy across the bar. Why do I keep saying that? You're at the bar, the guy's looking at you, and he's hot. You don't know anything about him. You don't know any of the thoughts that are behind his brain. You're just like, "Wow, that man's hot." Or we're at the beach in our tankinis and the lifeguard's there. You know what I mean? And, like, we as ourselves and as women can fantasize, and we the fantasy is more alive, and,
Yeah.
like, the man is more attractive in that moment because we know absolutely nothing
Right.
about him, and once
Right.
you get into his brain, and then you're like, "Oh, wait, his dick just is twitching all the time, and he's about to cum his pants every time he looks at her." To me, I'm like, I don't love, like, the fantasy isn't as strong anymore,
Yeah.
which I find just to be so funny because it's even, like, I mean, some of my favorites, right, in that way. Sarah J. Maas, I mean, Cassian blew his load immediately for Nesta. So, like, and obviously we still love him, but, like, it's just yeah, it's really, really interesting. To me, you can never have me write in a male POV just because
Well,
I don't think it would be correct. As just like it just yeah, I don't think
e
I would do anyone a service
even
or
even
justice.
even if the male POV isn't, like, that explicit, I guess, sometimes when I'm reading it, I'm like, "This was written by a woman." And,
Yes.
like, and it comes through that this is, like, not an accurate representation of what would happen in that moment. Again, because as the reader, you are envisioning how people say things. You are envisioning what's going on or the interpretation. And so, like, inviting that into it, it just kind of like messes with your experience, at least, yeah, for me. Um,
100%. I also
yeah.
think it, like, when you don't have, again, like, that true voice, like, you haven't spent enough time actually even understanding his voice to begin with. I feel like sometimes you can go back and forth and not know, and almost sometimes forget what head we're in, where it's like
Mhm.
because they
Yeah,
sound too similar,
exactly.
or they're just sounding like I'm the grumpy archetype. Like, and I feel like that's a lot of the time I'm just like the grumpy, protective alpha male archetype
Yeah.
of what I should be, and those are my thoughts, and, like, this, that, and there, and it doesn't feel as real, and I think maybe that's where I'm getting at besides the dick switching. It just doesn't feel as real compared to, like, when you are in that single POV of your main character, like, you know them frontwards, backwards, sideways. They're not just some archetype of some trope of some character. You're in it. And when you flop back and forth and maybe you know one character a lot more than you know the other, it's hard to dig into that and, like, really get to the realness of who this person is outside of just desiring the female main character.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it'll be interesting because when we read Abby Jimenez just for the summer, at least for the first 2 in that little series, trilogy, whatever you wanna say, she did dual POV,
Mhm.
and that, I guess, sometimes I read it and it doesn't bother me and I don't notice it as much. So for her, I did not really have too many, like, cringes or critiques, but it'll be interesting for us to read it and see, like, how we experience that. But yeah, and we'll talk about I'll bring up in that episode when we, sorry, I'm just thinking about I'm just having one memory of one of those books and
I
something
can't
that
wait because
I'll
yeah, this
save
will be
it.
my first Abby, Jimenez. Jimenez, am I saying that correctly?
Mhm.
This is gonna be my first Abby Jimenez book. So yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, even look right now, Elsie Silver, she's dual POV. I don't hate dual POV. I just think it needs to be done really well. And you need to really get to know your characters and understand that character's voice. I think I
Yeah.
just prefer the single POV just because you just get so deep in it so much more. And I think the
Mhm.
characters develop more because you're right. The chapters aren't you don't have half and half, right?
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I am excited to start our summer reads. really excited to start our summer reads and kind of see where the summer takes us. But
Yep.
I
Me
think this
too.
is the end of our episode, though.
I think so too.
I would love to hear if anyone else has read Emily Henry. I'm assuming you have if you're on this episode. I would love to know your ranking of your favorites, who you loved, who you didn't. If you absolutely like loved Great Beautiful Life, if you absolutely loved People Who've Been on Vacation, Beach Read. Yeah. Do we suck by not loving Beach Read? Like, let us know. I like really, really love to just hear everyone's different favorites when it comes to Emily Henry because I feel like they're just so, I don't know, they're just so good.
Yeah,
But
I agree. I love how a lot of people's favorites, because I see Betrayed being a top one a lot. I see Book Lovers being a one a lot, and like what goes into like why is that your favorite? Like how does that meet you specifically? Because that is our favorite part about books is like how we relate to what's going on in the story. So like yeah, we just love to hear like why you love when you love.
100%. With that being said, love you guys so much. Remember to like, subscribe, share with friends. I would love to know what y'all are reading this summer. Let us know if we should be adding anything to our list. I feel like I just want to like read all summer, especially I'll be traveling a lot. So I just want to like, I'll have plenty of time on the plane and all I want to do is read. Also, right now I'm really in my like audiobook era where like I'm listening to the audiobook and then reading it on the Kindle and it's been really nice. Like right now, this Elsie Silver one, I've barely read it on my Kindle. It's only been
Mm.
audiobook. And sometimes that's really nice. You know what's great for dual POV? Audiobook. And a dual POV audiobook is nice sometimes. But sometimes I also like want to cringe and die. So it really is love hate. But anyway, love
Yeah.
y'all so much. I hope you guys have the most amazing week. And until next time, see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.